What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke. You're watching StrengthAddicts.com, probably on YouTube. You might be somewhere else on social media, so be sure to follow. Today's guest is someone that I met at the first ever Brawn Army meetup at Flex Appeal Gym in Miami, Florida, and it is women's physique competitor Anastasia Ryder. Anastasia, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. And so we've got a lot to talk about because Anastasia is a coach working with lifestyle clients and competitors. She's a small business owner. She's a women's physique competitor. There's a lot to talk about. So I think the first thing would be, how did you discover the muscle game, like competitive physique-based sports?
I had always worked out. I've been involved in sports since before I even started school. You know, I did swimming, I did football, I did soccer, I did track, and I was very good at everything, but not exceptionally good at anything. You know what I mean? So like I would make it to states and then I'd get second or third. So in that time, I started weight training, obviously to improve at the different sports I did, and I ended up falling in love with it. And then when I discovered the bodybuilding aspect of it and something I was actually good at, it just evolved from there, and I kept doing it. And now I couldn't see my life without it at this point.
And it's, it's so interesting because we did meet at that Brawn Army meetup, and that's such a cool gym. And what I like about Flex Appeal Miami, and I've got to check out Flex Appeal Tampa, your gym, but is that it's not a huge gym, but they use the space really, really wisely. They have the nicest equipment. It's super clean, especially now with everything that's going on. We'll talk about that too. It's really important. But Anastasia's video, I think, was my first or second video on TikTok. Now, before 2020, I would never have gotten TikTok because I always thought it was for like teenagers or something. But in 2019, 2020, it saw more growth than Instagram. Obviously, more people have Instagram, but the level of growth of TikTok was number one. And so now a lot of people in the fitness industry are on there. And it just so happens that I had a video. I don't remember exactly. It was, I think it was like, what was the exercise you were doing? It was some sort of a leg press, right?
Like a glute kickback, bilateral leg press type of thing.
And this video, so Teresa Vanchik used to have a show with Iron Mag TV. I used to run Iron Mag TV, and I think it was called Whatever It Takes was the name of her show. And I used that song for Anastasia's video on TikTok. And I think in like a course of, I'm no longer on people's For You page. For those of you in the TikTok world, that means like I get featured. But during my featured run, your video got I think 200,000 views in like a week, something like that. Yeah. And a lot of comments, a lot of really positive, a couple trolls here and there, but a lot of positive comments. So it was really, really cool. And so, I mean, I think you were like, you're home with physique-based sports, but you started out in figure, and I didn't know that. And I think you have a cool story, right?
Yes, I do. I started out in figure because when I started bodybuilding, I didn't know that I was bodybuilding. I just went to the gym and worked out and trained. And by the time I learned about competing, I was already way past competing, but I just wanted to compete. Like I was ready to go. I had an idea of what it was about. I was going for it. Let's go. So I started with figure and I did my first show and I did well. I got fourth at most of my shows in pretty big classes. And I said, okay, here's what I need to improve on. I understand that it's a process and I have to work at it. So I'm going to take time off and make the improvements necessary. Now, I love to lift. I lift heavy. That's pretty much my thing. That's what I enjoy. I never did it for the purpose of getting big so much. I just really, really liked it. I like to challenge myself. I like to push myself. Well, I took, some time off from competing so I could gain the size I needed. And the next time I got on stage in figure, they actually gave me dead last in open and novice. And I thought I looked great. Like I was so happy with my package. I was conditioned. I was the leanest I'd ever been. My muscle was full. Like I loved how I looked. So I was very confused. And and my coach was confused as well. So we went to the judges after and they said, what's going on? Like, what's your critique for her? How can she improve? Because I had taken a year to build the size shot, like a year straight of off seasons, no cheat meals, no nothing, just to get to that point. So I was pretty upset. And they said, yeah, the problem is you're not figure anymore. You are too big, you're too conditioned, you just have too much mass. And I looked at the pictures of me next to the other girls and I said, oh shit, I'm not like them. So I took 4 weeks off in between, and I went and did my first women's physique competition after that, which was the Dexter Jackson Classic. And I actually won the overall. And after I did that, I said, okay, women's physique is where it's at for me. And I loved it so much more than women's figure. You know, you can really showcase the work you've put in. You can create your own routine. You get more than 20 seconds of turning around in a circle. Like, you can actually be a bodybuilder. So I fell in love with it from there, and I'm glad it happened the way it did.
Absolutely. You know, and it really got me thinking there, because, you know, you could be the best in one division, but if you're competing in the wrong division, you would actually place dead last.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, so I think I mean, that's very, very interesting. And again, it would explain why your coach didn't know what was going on. You were in the wrong division, and,
Yes.
And you heard this more than one time also. So as soon as you know, and 4 weeks is not a long time either in between shows, but that's just probably how good you were in women's physique. Now yeah. And now the other thing too that I think is very interesting also in that is that you know, you have more time on stage. And that's one of the things too, like where, you know, I always tell people, you know, every division, I feel like, especially doing media, every division has like its difficulty and its perks. And, you know, bikini and men's physique in terms of stage time, it's like 16 weeks for, I don't know, 10 seconds, something, nothing, you know, whereas, yeah, you know, but with you, I mean, you know, women's physique to me is like, you know, it's not bodybuilding, but it's as close as you can get, you know what I mean? And the women only have 2 divisions, you know? And so, I mean, 2 muscular divisions, I would say, like that. And the fact that they're different in the posing, but women's physique posing is artistic. It's beautiful. It shows the muscle, you know, you're up there a longer time. You really show your personality, which with the other divisions, it's a little harder, you know?
It is.
You know, and even figure, you have some more time, but bikini and men's physique, you know, you gotta go quick. Now, in terms of your beginnings also, we discussed how you discovered the sport. Talk to us a little bit about your career, because, you know, off camera, you told me you started in law enforcement, you were in corrections and parole and probation. And that's gotta be very, very, what's the word, exciting. I don't think there's a dull moment when you work corrections.
I tell everybody that it was simultaneously the easiest job I've ever had and the hardest job I've ever had. So when it was easy and everything was going the way it was supposed to, it's nothing. You're just managing people, you're just watching movement. But then the moment something goes wrong or something unexpected happens, it's like pandemonium. It can be the craziest day ever. And that was something I enjoyed and didn't enjoy about it. You know, I never knew what I was going to get when I went in. But it definitely caused me to get even more into bodybuilding than I already was, because I'm 5'10", but when I was working law enforcement, I was 130 pounds, and I'm 180 now, if that gives you a reference. So I got really tired of getting pushed around or being treated like I could be pushed around, and that was kind of what led me into even more of the bodybuilding scene. And that was kind of when I started to really dip my feet into the idea of competing, was when I worked in law enforcement.
Now, I've never been to prison as an inmate, but I do watch a lot of the prison shows on YouTube. I don't know why, but you weren't like in a like a minimum security camp or anything. You were in a legit jail, a prison, right?
Real prison, yeah. I worked. I started out with the handicap unit because, again, tiny little girl, but I did really well there, and they kept putting me into harder and harder units because they say, oh, you can handle it. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. And by the time I left the prison to work the streets, I was working the lockdown unit, and I was the only female they ever had successfully run the lockdown unit at the male prison. So that was a pretty big accomplishment for me at the time.
And it's interesting too, because I would think working in a prison, like if it's ever too quiet, you know, that could be, you know, they're mowing the lawn out there. Hopefully you can't hear that, but you know, sort of like the calm before the storm kind of thing. So if it's too quiet, that's not good. And also on the probation side, that's probably even more dangerous than working in a prison, because there you're going to, you know, people's homes, and you don't know.
And it's not even so much the probationers you have to worry about, because they're kind of already, they've accepted that they're under surveillance, that they can be searched at any time. They understand that. Yes, they can be combative from time to time, but you really have to worry about their family members. Because the last thing they want is their son, their boyfriend, their daughter, their sister to get locked up again. So those are the ones you really have to worry about. And then the added facet of where I worked in probation, I also lived. So I would, be working, and then I'd take my uniform off and want to go out to dinner and see a probationer there.
Yeah, you. It's not even that you brought your homework. It's not even that you brought your work home with you. You lived where you worked, basically.
Yeah, it followed me around.
Now, before moving off of this, you were so good at that you actually helped train new folks coming in, right?
Mm-hmm. I was living in Georgia when I did this, and I ended up going to Forsyth, Georgia, and helping with new recruits with their physical fitness tests and all that, because I had always been into the fitness aspect of this, and, a lot of cops are kind of out of shape. So they would look to me for help in my own office and then up there as well. And I would coach other people and help them start to get more into an athletic type of build. And that kind of was what led me to start wanting to personal train people and work with lifestyle and eventually competitors. But it grew from my love of helping my other officers be the best version of themselves they could.
Now, Anastasia also said that when she worked this job, she was 130. And when I met you, you were 180.
Yeah.
But I gotta say though, like when I met you at Flex Appeal, you weren't wearing a lot of clothes, and I don't mean that to sound sketch, but like you were wearing, I think, like shorts and like I don't even know if you could call that a shirt. It was like you and you were like solid, huh?
Like a sports bra. Yeah.
I'm a guy. I don't know anything about fashion, but like, yeah, but I mean, the thing is, you weren't wearing much clothes, and you were solid, and so that's important distinction, because those 50 pounds, that's pretty much all muscle. And the way that you train, I think, is part of the reason why the video on TikTok did so well, because it was each rep of the set was perfectly executed. And I think that also, caused a lot of people, wow, like that's really interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I've always trained like that. Like I said, I like to train very heavy, but I learned pretty early on, especially given my height, I'm more prone to injury. So if I'm not doing an exercise correctly, I'm pretty much guaranteed to hurt myself. So I've always been a big stickler for making sure that, yes, I'm moving heavy weight, but I'm moving weight, not moving me, and I'm controlling it, and I'm aware of what I'm doing at all times when I'm working
out. Now, how much do genetics play in terms of your physique? Because again, your legs are, and I don't want this to turn into like a schmoey type interview, but you have very good arms and you have very good legs, but you're also 5'10". I mean, you're not like a one of these class A bikini competitors are like 5 foot nothing. So how are you able to put on size, but not fat at your height?
Well, when I'm in an off season, I do put on a good amount of fat. And I think a lot of women don't really like to touch on that, but the heaviest I've ever gotten to an off season was 220 pounds, but I had to do it to put that size on. Now, obviously, again, I'm almost 6 foot, so most girls aren't going to get well over 200 like I did, and it's not always necessary, but when you're wanting to put on mass, it is like you have to be able to eat to grow and sustain that, and then you have to be able to safely and over time diet back down to reveal the work you did. But as far as genetics go, I'm actually adopted, so I don't really know what that plays in with me. I know what my birth mom side of the family looks like. I don't know my birth dad side of the family, but I've kind of always looked at that as a benefit. I don't have a picture in my head of what my max capacity is. I can make up anything I want and strive to achieve it and not hold myself back in that way.
So you also mentioned that you're a coach and you started out with lifestyle clients, but now, and I know that you train people to compete, because when I posted that I'd be doing this interview, I saw a lot of folks following and a lot of people liking, and I, of course, I like to see who they are. So how did you get involved with coaching, and also making the transition from coaching the sort of lifestyle folks, which are mainstream people, to competing to the folks that compete? Because I would imagine the folks that compete are a lot more demanding than the lifestyle clients.
It's very different, and I did not plan to coach competitors at all. I had been coaching lifestyle clients for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I felt very comfortable with that. I got them good results. They enjoyed it, and obviously at that time I was prepping for shows as well, and I had a lot of younger girls that wanted to train with me. So a couple of them saw me getting ready for these shows and they said, I want to do that. And I said, well, I can recommend a coach for you. And they said, no, I want you to coach me. And I said, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I don't feel comfortable with that. I could refer someone to you. And they said, no, I want you to do it. I trust you. I know that you have my best interest in mind. I want it to be you. So when they said that, I said, okay, I'm going to do it. But I took a lot of time to educate myself on it before I took that leap. Shelby Starnes, I'm sure you know who that is. I downloaded all of his ebooks and I read everything he put out. I read a couple of Chris Aceto's books and I just educated myself a bit. The first couple of prep clients I didn't accept payment from them. I said, I'm brand new at this. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I'm something I'm not. We're going to work together. We're going to get a lot of feedback and we're going to figure this out together. And eventually I got better and better at it. So now we're at the point I can comfortably coach bikini, figure, and women's physique clients and feel good about what I'm doing and feel confident that I'm correctly coaching them in a safe way.
That's amazing customer service. I mean, to, sort of put all your cards out on the table and say, look, I have not, coached competitors. I'll coach you for free. But it's interesting because you are a competitor and you knew more or less what a competitor needed. Plus you had the experience with the lifestyle clients, but I still think it's amazing customer service so that you took on those competitors, didn't charge them, kind of learned with them, even though you really knew what you were doing already.
Well, I knew it worked for me and I understood the difference too. Like just because me personally, my preps are very different than most people's. Like I respond to strange things that most people don't respond to. So I had to really take the time to learn other people and really educate myself on it. And, for the most part, I learned best through doing it through things. And that's why when I took the initial couple clients on, I told them, I was honest with them. And I said, this is what I have to offer. I just need you to give me a lot of feedback. I need for us to work together. And, it's going to be trial and error, but I'm going to do my best to make sure you're successful and you get what you want out of this.
And I really I really admire the honesty too. And what you said there is so important because I noticed that a lot of coaches don't say it, and it's what works for you or what works for them isn't necessarily going to work for all their clients. So I think that's really powerful too, because I think a competitor that goes to you is going to know that they're getting a plan that's individualized for them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's really good. Now, segueing to Titan Medical, you work with Titan, you're a sponsored athlete with them, and they also provide a service. They provide supplements that are by prescription, and there are a lot of clinics out there, but it's important. Again, you're offering your clients, the meal attention, the training attention, and should they need, after blood work, should they need, other supplements, it's important to send them somewhere reputable, somewhere that's going to take care of them. So how did you make that relationship happen? How did that happen?
I'm always really honest. So I'm going to tell you one of the big things that drew me to Titan. Obviously, like you said, there's a lot of clinics in the area. There's a lot of different places and people that offer the service of, blood work and prescribing things. But Titan is the only company I have never heard anything negative about. All the other companies, I've heard a horror story from this person where they prescribed them this and that and tried to sell them this and this happened and that happened. I've never heard that from Titan. The whole time I've lived in Tampa and I've been familiar with them, I've only heard positive things. So I said, okay, if I'm going to work with anybody, it's going to be them. And I got my blood work done with them a couple years ago and I became a customer of theirs first. I loved how they worked and I said, I'm working on building this gym. I'm working on, becoming a coach in the area, and I would love to work with you guys in the future. And they were on board. John and Sharice are the owners there, and they're amazing people. They're upfront, honest, just good people. You meet them, and you feel like you can trust them. And we've always just had a really good working bond, and they've helped me out. And I've referred every client I've ever had to them that needed their work, obviously. And it's just been a great relationship being sponsored by them. Honestly. That's
awesome. Yeah, that's really important too. And always get your blood work. And I mean, even if you don't like it, I can't stand having blood drawn, but sometimes you have to do it. It's important. I'm curious. I'm wondering. There's a question I want to ask you, and I don't know if I should ask you now, or if I should ask you later. But I'll ask you now because we're talking about coaching, we're talking about supplements, we're talking about training. So I generally like to ask this question to women who love to train, women that usually are women's physique, women's bodybuilding, sometimes figure, but you know, we don't see it so much now. And I think it's largely due to Jake Wood and Wings of Strength, the return of women's bodybuilding, really muscular women getting the respect they should have always been getting, right? But how do you respond to people that maybe give you a little bit of grief for having too much muscle in their perception, which I think is ridiculous? But how do you, whether it's a man or a lot of times it's a woman who thinks women shouldn't do anything but do cardio?
I have a very unique perspective on this. I've done a lot of self-reflection, and I've grown a lot myself over the years. And I came from a place where I used to be a negative person, and I used to be a bully, and I used to be the person to pick on other people. And it's because I wasn't happy with myself. I had a lot of self-hate at that time, and I didn't respect myself. I didn't love myself. And because of that, I lashed out at other people. So when strangers, especially strangers, say negative things to me or rude things to me, I actually tend to respond in a very nice way. I will, ask them, hey, are you okay? It sounds stupid about that, are you okay? Is something going on? Like what happened to make you feel like you need to just attack someone you don't know? And obviously they almost never give me, an answer like, oh, I had a bad day today, but it pretty much always stops them. They won't continue the trolling. They won't continue the negative comments. They'll just kind of take a step back and be like, oh, wow, why am I acting like this? And, I haven't made leaps and bounds with people by doing that. But for me, it feels a lot better than either saying negative things back or, feeding into it or having my feelings affected by it, because it's not a me problem. It's a them problem. I have nothing to do with how they feel about me. I do what I do. I don't hurt anybody. I'm not mean to anybody. So there's no reason for anyone to have anything negative to say about me, just like I don't have anything negative to say about anybody else. So there's something deeper going on with them, and that's what I keep in the back of my mind. So I really just don't let it affect me. I will respond with kindness before I'll lash out.
That's really good. I mean, that's really good. And another question in that realm as well, you are blessed, I think, because you are in a relationship with a pro bodybuilder, right? And you both love the sport. IFE Pro Derek Oslin, which is fantastic. But what happens though with, let's say, a lady, for example, who it could happen with a man too, but I think more so with a lady that wants to compete, and it could be anything. It could be from bikini to fitness to figure to women's physique to women's bodybuilding, wellness, which I don't want to leave out. But she doesn't have the support from the husband. She may not have the support from the family. She may not have the support from the people at work. I mean, I have, Anastasia, I've met ladies, men too, but mostly ladies, that are in their 40s, 50s, at Masters Nationals, that are saying, I can finally compete. And I said, well, what do you mean? And like, they've been wanting to compete for 10, 20, 25 years. They just, I don't know if they couldn't muster the courage up, or they were scared of the backlash from family. What would you say to those women that are watching this? And maybe you could save them 20 years and have them compete now.
This is your life. Do you want to look back happy you did something, or with a regret? I've dated men that told me, you're great the way you are, don't get any bigger. And they're not here with me anymore. Bodybuilding is not a self-destructive sport. Obviously anything can be self-destructive, but for the most part, it's not a self-destructive sport. You're not hurting anybody else. You're doing something you enjoy that makes you happy. And for the most part, it's very healthy. You're eating good food. You're training. You're doing cardio. If somebody else in your life that says they care about you has a problem with you being a healthier version of yourself, maybe it's time to kind of evaluate their role in your life. Family, friends, it really doesn't matter. If they don't have your best interests at heart, I just don't see a place for someone like that.
And that's really insightful too. I think also for the fact that I've never thought of it quite that way, in the sense of, you look great the way that you do, because I've always thought of that as someone saying that to someone that wants to diet maybe and can't or won't, that kind of thing. I've never thought of it as like somebody saying to someone, like, in other words, wanting them to stay that way. Like, because like it could also, like, it could easily be someone also, like you pointed out there, that does not want them to change. And that's just as negative. You know what I mean? Like,
it's control. It's about controlling somebody else.
Right.
And that's not a relationship. I mean, I don't mean relationship like boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, that's not any relationship. If you have a friend or a family member that only keeps you around because they want to control what you do or don't do, that's not a positive relationship at all.
And that's also really insightful, again, even more so because I was only thinking of a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, but even friends, especially. I mean, there's a lot of friends that like to do that. Like, you know, they like to like dominate the friendship, I guess. That's not a real friend. So
I want you to do good, but not better than me.
right.
That type of thing. That's not someone you need.
You need a talk show. You definitely do, because that's like you're like, yeah, that's great. So that's really great, guys. I mean, because I've never really thought of it that way, but that's very interesting, actually. And there are a lot of people out there that could use that advice, you know, because I mean, I see them at Masters National that they get so happy to compete, and it's like you almost wonder like who have they been living for this whole time, you know? So talk to us a little bit about the gym too, because when, you know, I met you at the Brown Army thing, you know, the Flex Appeal guys are extremely supportive, as they should be, but they are, of you and Derek and your gym in Tampa. And it seems like, you know, you guys are on the West Coast or on the East Coast. And I definitely want to get out there and check it out. Tampa's such a cool city.
Yes.
Tampa, Clearwater, and St. Pete. So you got like a triple thing going on there also. But talk to us about your gym. And also, well, actually, let's start talking about the gym, how you started it and who it caters to.
I had been planning to build a gym in Tampa pretty much since I moved here. I moved here 4 years ago now, almost 5. It'll be 5 in December. And I said, you know, I want to move here. I want to be a personal trainer, and I want to open my own gym. Because the gym for me always meant something. It was more than just a gym. It was, you know, a place where you can achieve greatness, where you can be yourself, where you can relieve stress, where you can connect with people that share a similar mindset of you. And I just wanted to be able to build my own and create that atmosphere for people, because I know how much it helped me, and I knew I could use that to help other people. So I always had that in my mind when I moved here. And, you know, it's hard to start a business. So I started saving up money. I started meeting people while I was here. And about, I want to say 3 years after I moved here, I met Will and Jesus, which are the owners of Miami Flex Appeal. And they said, you know, we're looking to open a gym in Tampa as well. And I met them and I talked to them, and they shared the same mindset as I do. They shared the same vision as I do, which I thought was crazy, but they were all on the same level. So I said, you know, I would love to open up a gym with you guys. Like, you guys are living my dream in Miami already, so let's do that in Tampa. And we've really been able to accomplish that. Me and Derek run the gym up here, and we've had it for a little over a year now, barring the Corona break. But we really built a community there. Like, all of our members know each other. We all support each other. People go there, you know, to see friends, to work out, to connect with people, to feel like they're home. And we meet up with each other outside of the gym. Like, it's really just been a community that we built, which is what I wanted. I didn't want to just build like a Planet Fitness type of place where you go and work out and go home. Like, I want it to mean something. Like, I want people to think of fam and think of it as something more.
Definitely. And I'm dying to check it out, because, you know, the one in Miami, I was just thinking about that too. Like, it's not huge in the sense that it's not like a warehouse kind of thing, but it doesn't feel cramped, and all this space is used wisely. There's a supplement store. They've got a nice curbside appeal. They've got the nice window outside, a palm tree out there, and you can train and not feel. And plus, they have those 2 rooms like you know, like parallel to each other, and it's fantastic. So, you know, I really like also that you talk about family, you know what I mean? And I like how, because for a lot of people, you know, the gym is like really, it's not like going back to work on a Monday morning, you know, it's not something to check off on a to-do list. It's like, it's something that they really enjoy, you know, and some people almost have to be like dragged out of there every day because they don't want to leave, you know?
Yeah. It means something. And that's why, you know, with the Corona and the shutdown of the gyms, I think a lot of people got the misconception that people were just worried about, you know, my gains and this and that. And it's not that. It's an emotional thing. If you go into that gym every day of your life for 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 years, it's not just, like you said, a check off the box. It means something to you. So for people to go without that for the time they did, it was rough. It was hard for a lot of people.
Now, from, you know, my parents live down there in South Florida, and I talked to you a little bit off air. It seems like Palm Beach County, Broward County, especially in Dade County, are still really kind of feeling, you know, the whole gym closures and the quarantines and all that. What's it like with Tampa now? But also, what was it like at the worst? Like, was there a point in time, I'm sure, where nobody could go into the gyms? Like, where you maybe like wondered, is this ever going to end?
From what I saw, and I have a lot of clients that work locally in the medical field. I have a lot of nurses that are clients. A couple of them took travel jobs in Miami. Most of them stayed here, and they said that there's a marked difference between Tampa and Miami the whole time. Like, they were preparing for the worst here, but it never really got to the worst here in Tampa. Whereas in Miami, it definitely did get very, very bad, and it still is, under my understanding, pretty bad situation out there. But here in Tampa, like, there's cases, of course, but it never became an issue here. And I think that's why they lifted the bans when they did, and, you know, everything's slowly starting to get back to normal. They have to do it where it's appropriate. I understand why states and counties are shutting down, but they also have to reopen when it's able to do so, because a lot of people's livelihoods are tied into small businesses and big businesses too if you can't go to work, you know?
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, Anastasia has an appointment at 4:30, and it's 4:17. So I want to do this again, especially with how much, like, you know, I'm trying to find a different way to say it, but you like totally blew my mind with like 2 or 3 concepts there in terms of, you know, relationships and empowerment and just doing what you love, which is so huge. So I definitely would like to do this again, but I don't want you to miss your appointment. So I really want to thank you for doing this, and any links that you'd like to share, you can put your number out there, although I would discourage it for folks that want to work with you. Maybe like give them like something, give them a burner number, but don't give them your real number. You know what I mean? And anything you want to promote.
Yeah, if you just want to either contact me or check out the gym, my Instagram is my first and last name, all one word, Anastasia Rider, or the gym is fam.tampa. And I run both of those pages, so you can contact me there. I'm more than happy to take on new clients, but I'm also more than happy to just answer questions you have. I don't want to be one of those people that are unaccessible unless you pay me. Like, that's not why I'm here. So if you just even want to talk to me or ask me any question anytime, I'm available.
Awesome. And FAM Tampa, or Flex Appeal Tampa, is run by Anastasia and the Giant Killer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good, just to clear that up. All right, so thank you very much for taking the time. For Women's Physique competitor, Flex Appeal Tampa co-owner, coach, Titan Medical sponsored athlete, Anastasia Rider. This is Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com.
Thank you.